Now, I'm not trying to start anything, but if you're African American, the Bible is not made for you. And what I mean by that is, can we just jump back and look at all the justifications for slavery that was used in early America, all because of Bible verses? A common chapter to use was Genesis 9, where it talks about the curse of Ham, which through mental gymnastics became one of the main reasons why they justified slavery. Then they used Ephesians and Colossians to emphasize obedience and showed how it was divinely sanctioned. And then, of course, you've just got the entirety of the Old Testament, which talks a lot about slaves and how to treat them and what to do when they run away. And this was used so much during this time, and yet I see so many African Americans that are just gung-ho for Christ. They are gung-ho for the Bible. You can see it in these churches that are dominated by African Americans where they love God. They love Him more than anything. And it just boggles my mind that an atrocity as horrible as what happened here with slavery that went on for way too long, I just cannot believe that this is ingrained within a certain sect of the African American culture. I mean, like, is this not something that bothers you? If you're African American, does this not bother you? If you are an African American Christian, does it not bother you that the Bible was used to justify owning slaves, beating slaves, hurting slaves? I mean, it is atrocious. Not that I need to say anything, obviously, but it boggles my mind. Where is the justification for that? Where is anything for that? Why would you believe in a God that did that? And don't bring up the Egyptian thing, because historically, I don't think anybody can really find much on Israel being enslaved by the Egyptians, to be honest with you.
I don't know what to say, but I don't believe in God. I've been a worship pastor for almost a decade. I've been deep within the church. I've been singing songs, leading congregations, doing sermons, volunteering, helping, so many things. And I just don't believe in God anymore. I really don't. It's weird for me to say that, but there's been a lot that I've seen that has happened that has just ruined my faith. I watched a teenage girl lose her life suddenly with no explanation, and all the church could do was say, "Hey, I'm praying for you," to her parents, who were grieving and confused and hurting as to why a loving God would do such a thing. From there, I watched an older man in his 70s, a few years later, healthy as a horse, went in for a simple operation, and then he just kept getting sicker and sicker, and I watched people desperately begging God to heal this guy who bled Christianity, who bled his love for God and Christ. He was always here at the church serving and giving time, and he had Bible verses everywhere. I mean, when you looked at this guy, you were like, okay, he's old and he loves God. You knew right away. So when he had 4 months of literally getting progressively worse, starting with he got PTSD from pacemaker shocks because it just kept shocking him. And then he had to get put back in the hospital, and then he couldn't drive. And then he was getting dizzy, and then he got so dizzy he fainted and hit his head on the table in his room and gashed his head open. From there, he got sent back to the hospital. And then he didn't come out. His kidneys started to fail, but his heart was now too weak to do dialysis. So all they could do was put him in hospice. I watched a man in his mid-70s who loved God and gave his entire life to God suffer a cruel and horrible last few months of his life. Would a loving God do that to one of his followers who dedicated their life to him? That is the moment that made me officially lose my faith, because I can't justify why a God would do that.
All praise to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honor to the apostles and elders of GMS. And this video is going to be a response entitled, God Does Not Care About African Americans. All right. And you heard this video from this guy, Instrumental Bard. I guess that's his label. Anyway, this dude right here is I put a second clip of him that was entitled God is a Bully. So just to show you, I put that second clip in so you can understand this guy is an atheist, that he, of course, is an Edomite, and he does not understand the scriptures. So therefore, when he talks, he unknowingly, with his comparison, shows and proves that the people in this country known as African Americans, which that's not who we are actually the Israelites. Because he said that he ain't trying to start nothing, but he noticed, he mentioned Genesis 6, that Christians have used that with the whole thing with the curse of Ham, right? Which really the scriptures say, really that curse went on Canaan. Which at the end of the day, when you look in the scriptures, anything about slavery, the Bible speaks more about the slavery of the Israelites than anything to do with Ham. Showing and proving yet again that the people in this country, so-called Black Americans, Latinos, and Native Americans, would make up the Israelites. Okay? Bottom line, we come from the house of Israel. It's in the scriptures. And this dude also said, keep in mind, he has a limited understanding, if any understanding, of the Bible at all. He also said that, to be honest, the Jews, which he was talking about the people he perceives as Jews, which is Jewish people, he said they have no proof. I believe it said proof of them being in slavery under the Egyptians. You know why? Because it wasn't them. It was us. Thanks for admitting it all. Now, let's just go right to the scriptures. And if you want to hear more of what he said, you can go back to it and listen. Now, he said there's no justification for slavery in the Bible, but there is. This is Deuteronomy 28:15. It was a consequence for disobedience. It says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Okay, so it's right there plainly, and we all know about the curses of Deuteronomy. Now, if we go, and let's go right to verse 45. It says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they, which is talking about the curses, shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Okay, so it said these curses going to be on you for a sign. One of the greatest ones that people can look at and know who the Israelites are. It says, we just keep reading from 47, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore, thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. So you don't need to do nothing. And I've done this. This is a little bit repetitive, but so what? They're going to keep repeating it with their rhetoric. We'll repeat it with what we're doing. If you go to Google Images and you put in yoke of iron. Let's see if you see anybody from an Israeli coming up. Nope, you don't. You see who the first man is. You see with the damn yoke of iron on his damn neck, right? That's who you see. Look at that. So we know who that is in reference to, and what people came over here with yokes of iron, or had yokes of iron put on their neck. So this guy right here put his foot in the rest of America's mouth, which that's good that he did that. Now, can we find other places in the scriptures where it talks about the Israelites being put in slavery? Sure, we can. Matter of fact, the Savior talked about it. Let's go to Luke 21. This is Luke 21. I put it like. Bear with me here. Luke. Come on, baby. There we go. Luke 21, verse 24. Now it says, it talking about the Israelites. It says right here, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. See, so the Israelites will be led away captive into all nations. There's a yoke of iron. There's even more. There's another scripture here that definitively says that it's the Israelites, or that the Lord sold the Israelites into slavery, or that he put them into slavery. Excuse me. Rakatha how about Shem Yahushua. Let's go here. We're going to go to the book of Baruch in the King James. Let's go there. Baruch chapter 4, I believe it is. Baruch 4 and verse 5. Be of good cheer, my people, the memorial of Israel. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved the Most High to wrath, ye were delivered unto the enemies. It's right there. You were sold to the nations, right? You're going to go to every nation in captivity. You're going to be delivered into subjection of all the kingdoms of the earth. You were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved the Most High to wrath, you were delivered to the enemies. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to the Most High. So this guy right here, he's trying to make an attempt to connect and say, oh, it was an injustice. There was no justification for it. Well, yeah, there was. The Lord said it, because you worship idols, right? You were delivered into the hands of your enemies because you were worshiping idols. That's why the Most High did all those things to you, Jacob. See? Very plain. Let's get another one here. If we go back to Baruch chapter, is it 1? Let's actually go to Baruch 2. Baruch chapter 2. This is what it says. It says, verse 4. We'll start at 1. It says, therefore the Lord have made good his words, which he pronounced against us and against our judges that judge Israel, and against our kings and against our princes and against the men of Israel and Judah, to bring upon us great plagues, such as never happened under the whole heaven, and the great atrocity of slavery on so-called black people, right? One of the worst things that's ever happened was done to the Israelites. It says, to bring upon us great plagues, such as never happened under the whole heaven, as it came to pass in Jerusalem, according to the things that were written in the law of Moses, going back to the curses. Deuteronomy 28:15, Deuteronomy 28:45, 48, right? 64, being delivered in all kingdoms of the earth. 68, going on slavery in ships. That a man should eat the flesh of his own son and the flesh of his own daughter. Moreover, he hath delivered them to be in subjection. What is subjection? Being under the rule of your enemies. Moreover, he hath delivered them to be in subjection to all the kingdoms that are round about us, to be a reproach and a desolation among all the people round about, where the Lord hath scattered them. So how we were scattered through slavery. And that too goes back to the curses. If you want to go back to Deuteronomy, the scattering was a curse. And you wasn't scattered on your own will. No, you were scattered because you were sold there. Deuteronomy 28:64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. See? But now this dude, he act like he feel bad about it, but don't worry. You're going to get your turn, because just as the scriptures talk about the Israelites being sold into slavery, and like I said, when you read in the scriptures, the Bible talks more about the Israelites going into slavery than the damn Hamites. You can't find the one verse you go to, right? A servant of servants shall he be. That wasn't, well, it does speak to a form of servitude, but really the Israelites were the ones that went into slavery more times than anybody, over and over and over. And the worst slavery that's ever been seen in mankind happened to the Israelites. So this guy unknowingly admits that so-called black people are the Israelites. And not only us, but also the Native Americans and Latinos as well. But we talking about these Negroes right now, so-called African Americans. So while he's trying to make an appealing video or make a profound statement, and a lot of times Esau set these people up to say these little things to reinforce in your mind, make you think that you are African, that you came from Africa, because he threw the thing about Ham in there. But as you read the scriptures, as we doing, you see more so that Israelites was the one that was sold into slavery, that went into slavery. Now let's also show you that, and it's in the language of Isaiah 14. Let's read it now. This is what it says. It says, for Isaiah 14:1, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. That's a future prophecy that has yet to be fulfilled. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Who are the strangers? We are the strangers, those that were not a people. The Gentiles that pertain to salvation from the New Testament are the Israelites scattered throughout all the nations. How did they get scattered? The Israelites? Through slavery. See that? So what are we going to do? And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. We're going to take the other nations and take them to our land. Listen to what it says. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were. And they shall rule over their oppressors. So were we not captives? Were we not slaves? Were the Israelites captives and slaves? Were they not oppressed and they're going to take their oppressors over? Yes. You see? Yes, all those things are true. We were taken into slavery. We were taken into captivity. But we're going to take those captives whose captives we were. Let's read it again. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. You see that? And there's another one I want, and I don't know where it is. Let's see if this one is it. Zechariah 2:6. Yeah. Zechariah 2:6. Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith the Lord. For I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heaven, saith the Lord. So the Most High said, I sent you all over the earth. Matching up with what the Savior said, we're going to be in captivity among all nations. Right? Baruch said it. And it's also in Deuteronomy. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon, which we know the daughter of Babylon is America. Babylon the Great. So you have here the Israelites being delivered from Babylon the Great. It says, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. Listen, for behold, I will shake mine hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants. So it's predicted, prophesied that this land is going to be overthrown, and then the people of it going to be a spoil to the ones they took as servants. Check that out. For behold, I will shake mine hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants, and ye shall know that the Lord of hosts has sent me. You see that? And let's finally close. Well, we'll read more here. Let's get Isaiah 47 now. Isaiah 47:1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Same place. America, sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. So it's prophesying that this kingdom is going to be brought down. Now in verse 6, it says something powerful here. It says, I was wroth with my people. The Most High said, I was angry with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance. Jacob is a lot of his inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Did we look at the yoke of iron? Yeah, we did. So guess what? The daughter of Babylon had the people of Israel in captivity. It says the Most High took them put them in captivity. See, I was angry with my people. Let's see if we get and sometimes these translations be tripping, but let's see here. The NLT, for I was angry with my chosen people and punished them by letting them fall into your hands. But you, Babylon, showed them no mercy. You oppressed even the elderly. Right? The NIV, I was angry with my people. When did the Most High talk about that? He said, if you don't follow what I'm telling you to do in Deuteronomy 28:15, he said, all these things are going to happen to you. Now here it says, I was angry with my people and desecrated my inheritance. I gave them into your hand, and you showed them no mercy. Even on the aged, you laid a very heavy yoke. There it is. Boom. And that yoke was the bond of slavery. Okay? Was the bond of slavery. Let's see here. Damn. Jeremiah 30, is it? No, let's go to Joel 3. We can close out with that one. So we know that, and we keep telling you that World War III is going to start and happen because of what you did to the Israelites. Joel 3:1, for behold, in those days and at that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. And this going to happen to all the nations because they all had a portion of our slavery. I will also, now in verse 1, the Lord is saying he's gonna free the Israelites out of their bondage. I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. So we know who did that. If you read Ezekiel 30, 36 and 5, I gotta go there. Ezekiel 36 and 5. It says, who parted the Lord's land? Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea, which is Edom, Esau, Edom. What did they do, Lord? Which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. See that? So Esau was behind the Holy Land being taken over and being divided among the heathen nations and scattering the Israelites. Another nail in the coffin for you Edomites. Now the Lord goes on. He says, verse 3, Joel 3:3, and they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink it. We all know, well documented, how they sold us for musket guns and wine, musket guns and whiskey, right? To the Hamites. The so-called white, or the Hamites sold us to the so-called white man. See that? The Africans sold the Israelites into the hand of Esau, Edom. That was the transatlantic slave trade, the beginning of it. It says, yeah, what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, Hamites, and all the coast of Palestine, when you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because you have taken my silver and my gold and have carried in your temples by goodly pleasant things. Listen, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them from their border. You see that? So we sold. And you can't look in history nowhere and find where the Hamites sold Jewish people to white people. You ain't gonna find that nowhere. That's why this guy says there's no evidence of the Jewish people being sold, them going into slavery among the Egyptians. No, because it wasn't them, it was us. They're imposters. You do see in the history Hamites, Africans, selling Negroes to white people. This is what you're reading here. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. So the Lord is raising us up. That's what this great awakening is about. The slaves, the children of slaves, the Israelites, being raised up where they were sold. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord has spoken. And that's in the time to come, because Babylon the Great gonna be destroyed, and in the kingdom we're gonna sell you damn Edomites the same way you did us. Doesn't it say that in Isaiah 14 that we read? They shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. It certainly does. So you got it wrong, bud. But thanks for the admission. See, anytime you Edomites talk, you just put your foot in your damn mouth. All right, but that's it. We'll see you soon with another lesson, Lord willing. All praise to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Shalom.